WDR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and Conakry. Good evening and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM in Dakar, Senegal, and worldwide at WDR.org. First, the headlines. Guinea's Electoral Commission publishes provisional list of 28 political parties and candidates for May legislative elections. South African border officials intercept prominent Beninese activist Seba and 3 others. Medical Board of Gambia's Reparations Commission resumes operations for victims of Jammeh era.
For victims to continue having the relief that they need, their medications, their treatment, including psychosocial support.
And AES Chief of Armed Forces meet in Ouagadougou for first ordinary conference on security.
Based on what has been discussed, we believe our army, the unified force, is growing stronger. In all circumstances, we are present and ready to carry out the missions assigned by the heads of state.
Please stay tuned for the details of these stories and more.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Glad to have you join us. This edition of Newslink begins in Guinea, where provisional list of candidates and political parties taking part in the May legislative elections have been published. According to the Directorate General of Elections, out of about 30 applications, only 21 have been approved. It adds that the rejected list have 48 hours to file an appeal. WDR Sankole Janko tells the details.
A total of 28 political parties have submitted national list for the upcoming legislative elections scheduled for May. Out of these, 21 have been provisionally approved by the Directorate of General Elections. According to the electoral body, 150 applications were filed across the country's 50 constituencies. Of these, 109 have been validated, representing a rejection rate of 27%. The Commission also reports that the candidate pool includes 306 men and 136 women, reflecting a female percentage rate of 31%. Authorities say the process has been conducted transparently, with all applications reviewed based on key criteria such as the validity of documents, authenticity of civil records, compliance with the gender quota, payment of required deposits, and official endorsement by political parties. However, the provisional list will now be forwarded to the Supreme Court for final approval. Parties whose submissions were rejected have been invited to file appeals within 48 hours. The legislative elections are set for May 31. Initially planned for a week earlier, the vote was postponed by the Guinean head of state to accommodate the observance of Pentecost and Tabaski.
That was Sankole Janko with that report. More on politics and the emerging opposition political coalition of Nigeria, the African Democratic Congress, has concluded its national convention. At the end of the 2-day convention, key structural changes were announced, including resolving the group's leadership crisis. The changes that the ADC says launches it into a new phase of policing and designed to strengthen its position ahead of the 2027 general elections. Our Abuja correspondent Yechenu Sasitu has the details.
The African Democratic Congress wrapped up its national convention in Abuja, adopting key amendments to its constitution and approving a new leadership structure. Delegates overwhelmingly backed the changes as the party looks to reposition itself ahead of the 2027 general elections. The convention also confirmed a new national working committee led by former Senate President David Mark. The gathering attracted several high-profile political figures, including Peter Obi and Rotimi Amici, in what observers see as a growing push to build a stronger opposition alliance. Party leaders say the reforms covering membership rules and internal organization are designed to make the party more inclusive and equally competitive. Despite earlier internal disagreements, stakeholders described the outcome as a significant step towards unity and a stronger platform ahead of the next elections. For WADR, Yechenu Sasitu in Abuja.
In Benin, the Constitutional Court on Thursday, April 16, 2026, announced the provisional results of the presidential election held on 12 April 2026. Romuald Wadani has been officially declared president-elect of the Republic of Benin with 94.27% of the votes compared to 5.73% for Paul Hungpe with a voter turnout of 63.55%. Elsewhere, prominent Beninese activist Kemi Seba and 3 others have been arrested in South Africa. They are accused of alleged involvement in facilitating illegal crossing into Zimbabwe via the Limpopo River. Augustine Colley completes the story.
Police authorities say Seba, whose real name is Stilio Gels Rabo Capochichi, was arrested alongside his 18-year-old son and another accomplice during an intelligence-led operation at a shopping center in Pretoria on April 13. The suspects appeared briefly before the Brooklyn Magistrates Court on April 15th. Police allege the group paid around 250,000 South African rand to organize a clandestine joining through Zimbabwe with plans to continue to Europe. Investigators, including the Hawks and Interpol, also confirmed that Seba is wanted in Benin on charges related to crimes against the state. He is also suspected of links to individuals involved in a failed coup attempt in December last year. All 3 suspects remain in custody. The case has been postponed to April 20 as extradition proceedings to Benin begin.
Augustine Colley filed that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
And now we head to Ghana, where the Office of the Special Prosecutor says it will challenge a High Court ruling that bars it from prosecuting cases without the Attorney General's approval. The court in Accra declared an ongoing OSP prosecution null and void, ordering that they be transferred to the Attorney General. It also imposed a fine of 15,000 cedis on the office. In response, the OPS described the ruling as legally flawed, insisting the court overstepped its constitutional authority. WADR's Nadede Tete tells us.
On Wednesday, April 15, an Accra High Court, presided over by Justice John Eugene Yedunyante, ruled that the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, cannot undertake prosecutions without recourse to the Attorney General. The court based its decision on Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution, which vests prosecutorial authority solely in the Attorney General. The ruling followed an application by one of the defendants in an ongoing case, Peter Archibald Hyde, who challenged the legal mandate of the OSP to prosecute criminal matters. In an immediate response, the OSP criticized the decision, arguing that the High Court had exceeded its jurisdiction. In a statement issued shortly after the ruling, the anti-corruption body indicated that it had begun processes to challenge the decision at the appropriate forum, insisting that only the Supreme Court has the authority to declare provisions of an Act of Parliament unconstitutional. Meanwhile, reactions have been mixed. Law professor at the University of Ghana, Kwejo Apejetia, expressed disappointment over the ruling. But former Deputy Attorney General under the previous administration, Joseph Memka, who played a key role in the enactment of the OSP Act when it went to Parliament, has defended the court's decision. The ruling adds a new layer of complexity to the operations of the OSP, as a separate constitutional case currently before the Supreme Court of Ghana is also challenging the legality of the office's prosecutorial powers. For WADR, Nadede Tete, Accra.
Now to the Gambia, where the Reparations Commission has announced the resumption of operations of its medical board, marking a renewed effort to address the health needs of victims of past human rights violations. The Commission, in a statement, stated that the board resumed work following its transfer from the Ministry of Justice. The board is tasked with assessing victims' medical conditions and facilitating referrals for further treatments. From Banjul, WADR Sangdanal Mendy reports.
Rehabilitation is one of the 5 pillars of the Gambia's reparations program, alongside restitution, compensation, satisfaction, and guarantees of no recurrence. The Commission made clear that the board's work is designed to support victims' physical and psychological, recovery, restore dignity, and secure long-term well-being after years of untreated harm. Sirandao is president of the Alliance of Victims Association.
The resumption of service operations of the medical board is much welcome news. We are very pleased to have this being operational again. AVLO has been working closely and collaborating with the Operations Commission to really ensure that this is reinstated as soon as possible for medical services to be picked up again, for victims to continue having the relief that they need, their medications, their treatment, including psychosocial support.
Established by an Act of Parliament in 2023, and operational since 2025. The Reparations Commission is responsible for implementing reparations measures recommended by the TRRC, including compensation, rehabilitation, and restitutions. Sheriff Mohamed Kijere is chairman, Accountability Project Gambia.
So you can see most of these victims have serious medical issues. We are losing them one after the other, and the government is not doing much to address their situation or their conditions, to provide medical assistance to the victims. But notwithstanding, this new development is quite very welcomed by the victims community.
The medical board serves individuals who suffered violations between July 1994 and January 2017, a period covered under the recommendations of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
Crossing over to the Sahel, and the first ordinary meeting of the Chiefs of Staff Committee of the Alliance of Sahel States is taking place in Burkina Faso. The meeting aims to review the work carried out by military experts from the 3 member states who have been in Ouagadougou from April 7th to 15th. Here is the Chief of General Staff of the Burkina Faso Armed Forces, Brigadier General Moussa Diallo.
The meeting earlier today follows on from the gathering of experts of the AES Confederation. Military experts have been meeting here from April 7 to 15. They have produced a body of work which has now been submitted for decision. The decisions taken at our level will have a direct impact on the conduct of operations on the ground and will enable the commander of the Unified Force to carry out his mission effectively. Based on what has been discussed, we believe our army, the Unified Force, is growing stronger. In all circumstances, we are present and ready to carry out the missions assigned by the heads of state. Secondly, we also addressed the security situation across our territory within the confederal space. On this point, we reaffirm that we are AES, we remain AES, and anyone who seeks to challenge the AES space will be met by a unified force.
The voice of Brigadier General Moussa Diallo from the Burkina Faso Armed Forces. And now in Mali, the government has adopted a new national water policy. The major reform aims to provide lasting solution to challenges related to access and management of this vital resource. It is part of a broader effort towards structural transformation in response to the effects of climate change and increasing pressure on water resources. Imo Edit has more.
The national water policy unveiled by Mali covers the period 2026 to 2035. The policy was adopted to provide concrete solutions to challenges related to access, management and preservation of water resources at a time when rainfall patterns are becoming more unpredictable and water scarcity is increasing. Authorities say the strategy takes into account the visible effects of climate change, as well as the impact of population growth and expanding agro-pastoral activities, all of which are placing greater pressure on available resources. According to the official statement, the reform aligns with the country's broader development frameworks, including Mali Vision 2063 and the National Strategy for Emergence and Sustainable Development 2024 to 2033. A key pillar of the policy is the promotion of integrated and efficient water resource management nationwide. This includes strengthening governance, improving coordination among stakeholders, and ensuring more effective use of water. In a country where water is vital for agriculture, livestock, and household needs. The reform is seen as a strategic tool to boost resilience and support economic growth. Through this policy, Mali is signaling its ambition to make water a central pillar of its sustainable development.
That was Imo Ede to that report. You're still listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Guinea's Electoral Commission publishes provisional list of 28 parties and candidates for May legislative elections. South African border officials intercept prominent Beninese activist Saba and 3 others. Gambia's Reparations Commission resumes medical board operations for victims of Jammeh era. And AES Chiefs of Armed Forces meet in Ouagadougou for first ordinary conference on security. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and sports news. Stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Thank you for staying with us. In Liberia, a recent finding indicates that the country's natural resources may be benefiting foreign interest more than local communities. This particular concerns the BA Mountain, a major mining company operating in Grand Cape Mount County. A recent visit by the Vice President revealed that the company has been exporting millions of dollars worth of resources with limited visible benefits to the country. Responding to the controversy, Alexandra Cummings of the Alternative National Congress urged the government to take a more proactive role in managing natural resources. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker tells us.
BA Mountain has been active in Grand Cape Mount County for several years, primarily involved in mineral extraction, including iron ore and gold. Despite its extensive operations and reportedly huge profits, recent reports indicate that the company in 1 year shaved 11,000 kilograms of gold valued at $576.4 million, but has failed to deliver meaningful benefits to Liberia. Opposition AMC leader Alexandra Cummings has been vocal about the issue, calling the BA Mountain revelations a wake-up call for Liberia's leadership and urging immediate reforms in resource management.
Today, the dam is mostly finished and there is no real good schools, no real good hospital, no running water. And so we have to think about doing these things differently. There are other models for how we can get value for our natural resources. One is what they call production sharing.
Liberia's economy relies heavily on its natural resources, yet systemic gaps in oversight and corporate accountability allow some companies to reap outsized profits, while local communities see little improvement in living standards. The Alternative National Congress has pledged to push for legislative and public scrutiny, while calls for civil society engagement and media monitoring are growing louder. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Now to news on the economy, and the 18th review meeting of the regional program for integrated cotton production in Africa is currently taking place in Togo. The gathering, which began on Tuesday, is set to conclude on Saturday, April 18th. Discussions are focused on assessing the past cotton season, examining ongoing challenges, and identifying strategies to sustainably boost production across the sector. Let's join Christopher Aticho for more.
This meeting brings together members of the country's regional program for integrated cotton production in Africa. Participants include Benin, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, Mali, Senegal, Chad, and Togo. The 4-day conference will, among other things, review the past cotton season and examine the key challenges facing the sector. Martin Drivo is Director General of Togo's new cotton company.
During these proceedings, we will receive results from the Agronomic Commission, which will bring us technologies and explain how to get producers to apply them in practice. We will also follow up on research findings. Some research projects are nearing completion and we are expecting recommendations. Others are at an intermediate stage and we will need to make recommendations for the continuation of this research. This meeting allows us to take stock of both the production and research sides.
Du côté production et côté recherche.
Organizers also hope to identify practical solutions to revise the cotton industry across Africa through interactive sessions between policymakers and producers. Tete Awuku, president of the regional program for integrated cotton production in Africa, explains.
Over
the next 4 days, there will be presentations and workshops aimed at consolidating everything that has been tested over the course of the year. Climate change is having a major impact on cotton production and agriculture in general. It is therefore important that we work, for example, on drought-resistant seeds and on products that help control pests. At NSCT, this year, we slightly adjusted our input package, which has led to a better pest protection for cotton, resulting in significantly improved cotton quality.
Un coton qui est de bien meilleure qualité.
At the end of the 4-day meeting, a set of recommendations is expected. These will help guide agricultural policies, strengthen research programs, and improve overall cotton production performance across the sub-region.
That was Christopher Ticho with that report.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest this evening is Damilare Ebenezer, a regional political expert. He weighs in on the recent national convention conducted by the Nigeria's opposition party, the African Democratic Congress, ADC, which resulted in key structural changes. The party says the move is designed to strengthen its position ahead of the 2027 general elections. Here is Ebenezer's reaction.
The context within which this is happening is a little bit different from what we used to know. ADC is an old party where but has not really had any major impact on electoral outcome in Nigeria. What is happening now is that the former ruling party, PDP, has lost election, 3 different elections, and 3 consecutive defeats is not a marketable result for any political party, particularly in Nigeria. So, the clash of personality, the ego competition within those political organizations resulted in moving to a party with a structure at the local level, but without any national strength.
Now that David Mark has been affirmed as chairman of the African Democratic Congress, how consistent is the party that the Independent National Electoral Commission will formally recognize this leadership structure?
Yeah, my understanding of what is going on is that the faction of ADC that had the convention believed that the right way to prevent the collapse of the coalition they are trying to set up is to give it the former structure. And that once the structure exists, once the party seems to be doing something, they could leverage on the pressure from their supporters across the country. What they tried to do a few days ago was to go to INEC and protest. I consider the convention they held and the nomination as element of pressure, first on INEC, but more importantly, a way of influencing the decision in the court, because at the end of the day, the court will have to make a determination that INEC has to comply with.
At the conclusion of the convention, the ADC delegates announced the expulsion of some factional leadership, that is the factional chairman, Nafu Bala, and including a member representing the Yagba Federal Constituency of Kogi State in the House of Representatives. With these expulsions coming out, how do you think the ADC can reconcile its internal dispute heading towards the major elections?
In my mind, you see, if you can't keep your house in order, your chances of convincing anyone on a larger scale to trust you is slim. The issue here is that the new political heavyweights who joined ADC failed in convincing those who were in the party before that they can be trusted as the new leadership. They could complain that the current regime paid people, they could raise issues and everything. Whatever it is, whatever influenced those factions, those who used to be in the party before they joined, they could not offer or speak to them in a way that they found their effort prior to this big politician joining recognized. That's the fact here.
That was Damilare Ebenezer. And now to sports news. And in cycling, Dauda Jire won stage 2 of the Tour of Mali on Wednesday, taking the 75-kilometer ride from Sikasso to Nema. Malian riders continue to dominate, following Tuesday's win by Tiemoko Jamutene. Jire held off a strong chasing pack to secure victory. It was an all-Malian podium with Musa Togola second and Tiemoko Jallo third. However, the overall lead has changed, with Guinea-Bissau's Rahil Zuhair now wearing the yellow jersey. In football, Bayern Munich has reached the Champions League semi-finals stage after a thrilling 4-3 victory over Real Madrid, sealing a 6-4 aggregate victory. Madrid struck early through at the Gula, but Bayern responded quickly in a fast-paced encounter. Reduced to 10 men, Madrid were punished by Luis Diaz, who scored an 89 minutes before Michael Olise added a stoppage-time goal to seal a dramatic win. And Arsenal advanced to the Champions League semi-final with a 10-0-0 draw against Sporting, securing a 1-0 aggregate victory at the Emirates Stadium. Despite holding the advantage from the first leg, Arsenal struggled to assert themselves and rode their luck as Sporting failed to convert key chances. Michael Arteta's side lacked fluency and attacking sharpness, extending a run of inconsistent performances. The Gunners now face Atletico Madrid in the semi-finals of the Spanish side, after the Spanish side eliminated Barcelona, while Arsenal have reached back-to-back Champions League semi-finals for the first time. Concerns remain over form and composure during a crucial stretch of the season. And with that, we have come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maude Juve for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram, and Facebook at WDR English. I am Veronique Njai. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about